Hello there, everyone, and welcome to GamePoints episode 195. Your weekly little get-together. We talk about recent gaming news. I'm, as always, your host, Stephen Brand, and joining me today is...
I'm David. I feel like we did 195 already.
We probably did. Tonight,
Yeah, we don't count.
Tonight, David. Call of Duty Modern Warfare is allegedly in the wild, so beware of spoilers, though we won't be getting into any of that here. ParadoxCon essentially just sold me a bunch of stuff by proxy, and people seem to think Okami 2 is coming, and a whole bunch of other rumors as well. But first, I want everyone here to know that this is an audience interactive podcast, so if you're watching here live on Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time over at twitch.tv/GamePoints, feel free to join the conversation. If you're watching us later at youtube.com/GamePointsPC, feel free to comment down below as well, and we will try to respond to everything that comes in. Try to keep it germane to the conversation, don't get off too much of a tangent, but it happens, we get it, it's understandable. David, Now, the past few weeks has been interesting, to say the least, when it comes to games and politics, because Blizzard has just shit the bed all over the place.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I didn't realize, and I remember we were talking about this Blitzton, Hearthstone, Hong Kong, China conundrum like 2 weeks ago.
At length, I think we've covered it, because it just keeps coming back.
At first, when we first talked about it, it seemed like a little bit of a small tempest in the teapot. It wasn't starting to boil over. We weren't getting anything too big of it because it was just breaking as we were winding the show down. By the way, Junesy, good to see you in chat. Good to see you here for the talk show. I think it's the first time on GamePoint, so good to have you here. However, this thing has exploded to have far-reaching consequences everywhere, and you fucked up when both sides of the U.S. political aisle joined forces to issue a statement condemning what you did.
They can't even agree on the color red being the same shade, but they'll still call out your dumbasses.
That's how bad Activision Blizzard. So this is just the latest in a string of Bobby Kotick's horrible, terrible, no good, very bad month so far, it seems to be. So what am I talking about? You might ask what the hell I'm talking about. Well, a couple of U.S. senators and representatives from Congress signed essentially a joint statement, more or less putting Bobby Kotick specifically on blast. And I don't mean it was like a bunch of one faction. I mean, we have people ranging from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to Marco Rubio, two people who are pretty much diametrically opposed to each other. Mm-hmm. And they both signed this goddamn thing. So let me read in its entirety what members of the United States Congress has set to Activision CEO Bobby Kotick. And it has his address on here. Oh, by the way, before I get into this, I just want to go ahead and state that I believe the official GamePoint stance on this topic is fuck China and free Hong Kong, right?
Free Hong Kong? Yeah. I think I shouted that several times during our last outro.
If you're expecting anything on this topic to be kind of measured and controlled and non-biased, unfortunately, that is not what you're going to get here. I'm just making that out front.
We're both quite American.
Yeah.
When one place is yelling free, we agree with the guys that are trying to be free.
Yes. So let's read the statement here. Dear Mr. Kotick, we write to express our deep concern about Activision Blizzard's decision to make player Ning-Wai Chung forfeit prize money and ban him from participating in the tournaments for a year after he voiced support for the pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong. This decision is particularly concerning in the light of the Chinese government's growing appetite for pressuring American businesses to help stifle free speech. As a pause to the letter here, this was released on October 18th, which you could tell was a Friday. Mm-hmm. But you could tell that this was drafted a couple days before then, because since then Blizzard has given Chung back his prize money and reduced the suspension to 6 months. Mm-hmm. So this is based on now out of date information when they released this. Doesn't change the fact that he's still fucking banned, and the people that were shoutcasting him are banned, and that they have been trying to scrub the internet things. But that's a whole nother bag of worms.
Their initial reaction still happened, so this can still apply.
Yeah, back to the statement. Activision Blizzard benefits from China's growing market for esports, along with investment from Tencent, one of China's largest technology firms. As you and your company are no doubt aware, the Chinese government uses the size and strength of its economy to suppress opinions for which it disagrees. Last week alone, the Chinese government targeted Apple for hosting an app to help peaceful demonstrators evade repression, and the National Basketball Association because one team's general manager tweeted in support of Hong Kong. So, yes, the government of China is absolutely doing that. How there is a game developer I see on Twitter every now and then. I'm not going to say mention his name, but you can probably figure out who it is. Who constantly talks about how it's laughable that the U.S. bitches about China using its economy to suppress opinions that it disagrees with when we do it all the time as U.S. citizens. And I understand where he's coming from with that point of view, but that comparison only works if you consider the U.S. and China morally equivalent here.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
It's like comparing a burglary to a serial killer. So I have seen that counter argument pop around. I just wanted to address the argument out the gate before someone goes, well, the U.S. does it too. Yeah, we do. We're not China. And to think that we are China is being, at best, intellectually dishonest, and at worst, outright malicious. Going back to the statement once again. Your company claims to stand by, quote, one's right to express individual thoughts and opinions, end quote. Yet many of your own employees believe Activision Blizzard's decision to punish Mr. Chung runs counter to those values. Because your company is such a pillar of the gaming industry, your disappointing decision could have chilling effect on gamers who seek to use their platform to promote human rights and basic freedoms. Indeed, many gamers around the world have taken notice of your company's actions, understandably calling for boycotts of Activision Blizzard and gaming sites. As China amplifies its campaign of intimidation, you and your company must decide whether to look beyond the bottom line and promote American values like freedom of speech and thought, or to give in to Beijing's demands in order to preserve market access. We urge you in the strongest terms to reconsider your decision with respect to Mr. Chung. You have the opportunity to reverse course. We urge you to take it. Sincerely, Rod Wyden, United States Senator, Marco Rubio, United States Senator, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Member of Congress, Mike Gallagher, Member of Congress, and Tom Malinowski, Member of Congress.
Who, as a side note, of the 5 has the best signature.
It's very true. Initial thoughts to David and those joining us in chat. What do you think about this statement in general?
I love a good burn.
Okay.
I have to. It's one of those things where we talk about where every once in a while something in the gaming sphere will be so significant that it bleeds over not just to mainstream, but to people in like the upper echelons that you don't think pay attention to us. At least that's how I kind of assume it. We're like our own little gaming bubble over here. And this didn't just get hit a little bit. This got to people in like the highest reaches of our government.
Yeah.
Like writing and drafting a letter that they like nonpartisan agreed on.
I mean, technically, really, the only next place you can go beyond this is to have Donald Trump tweet about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, God forbid we have to fucking talk about that on this show. That's how high it's gotten.
I don't know that he would make the same decision, but you know.
That's how high it's gotten, though.
Yeah, exactly. It's up there. And I mean, we've talked plenty about how we felt about the entire situation, and you know, our stance on the topic is pretty well documented on the show, at least. So I see where they're coming from. I still doubt to this day that Activision Blizzard is going to do anything about it.
No, I don't think so either.
They're just going to do their absolute best to try and keep their head down, keep doing their shit, get through BlizzCon, however the fuck they've got to, and hope that we all forget this in 3 to 6 months when
we're already seeing that happening with them canceling that Overwatch event that was supposed to be happening in New York with Nintendo for the release of Overwatch on the Switch.
Try and stay out of the limelight as much as humanly possible and hope they can go back to business as normal because, like I mentioned before, China is a huge market and it's responsible for the majority of their revenue, at least according to like all their mobile games and esports money.
Yeah, I would take care of saying the majority of the revenue as a company overall, but when it comes to mobile and esports, I do believe that you're right.
Mm-hmm.
This has farther-reaching implications than just Hong Kong and China, however.
Well, this is also less a letter to Activision Blizzard and more a letter to like the gaming sphere.
Exactly. Because over the past year and a half,
this is, hey, if EA starts slipping up and doing all this other stuff and bowing to China and, you know, boycotting players or doing something like that, then they can expect a retaliatory response from the U.S. fucking government. And one thing that we've always talked about is we really don't want the government to be involved in our video games because that leads to regulation, and that leads us to, less gaming freedom, which isn't very fun.
So the one thing that the gaming industry as a whole does not want is the eye of the government upon them. And since the early days of Mortal Kombat, back when the ESA was first created, that hasn't really been much of a problem.
Yeah,
between
the
early 90s and now, or rather, between the early 90s and, say, 2017, rather, the only really major controversy that started kind of getting lit up a little bit was the whole Jack Thompson Grand Theft Auto causes kids to murder people thing.
Yep.
And there was a couple smaller wildfires here and there, but that was like the biggest one by far. And for the most part, he was just kind of laughed out of town to the point where he was eventually disbarred. However, that eye of Sauron that is the U.S. government has been slowly opening up over the past few years. And it started with EA fucking up over the loot boxes and Star Wars thing. And all of a sudden people are like, wait, kids and gambling?
Yep.
And there's nothing a politician loves more than a moral panic.
Well, yeah.
So you already started having a few people turning their heads toward the gaming industry. And now you have this happening where they're kind of kowtowing to the whims of China. And a few more senators are turning and going, I see that you guys can't handle your shit. It'll be a shame if we have to step in and regulate it for you.
Yeah, we also couldn't help but notice how much fucking money you make.
Now, yeah, that's another big part of it too. Now, there's supposed to be a board that steps as the middleman between the government and the entertainment industry, and that is the ESA. The ESA is
also a fucking dumpster fire.
Yeah, the ESA is a lobbying firm, essentially, that's supposed to go to bat for the corporations and make sure that these regulations and stuff don't get passed and essentially defend the corporations. That's what the ESA does. Keep the note, they don't speak for the gamer.
Nope.
They speak for the corporations.
Of the company. 100% every time.
But as you already said, David, the fucking ESA is on fire right now because remember, they doxed like 2,000 fucking people.
Yep.
And it's even money if they're even going to exist soon because I understand most of their money comes from E3 and that is a thing that is tanking.
Yep.
So,
which is why they're opening it up to like 20,000 more people.
Yeah. So you have the video game industry making dumbass mistakes, which is pissing off the gamers. These mistakes are becoming so profound that the United States government is starting to slowly pay more and more attention to an industry that has been roughly left unmolested for the better part of 20 years now, 15 or 20 years now. And then you have what is supposed to be their defender, and I use that term loosely because the ESA is not really a defender, but they're supposed to be kind of like the firewall to prevent that from government interference to step in, quickly crumbling before us. Do you see what I am getting at here, David?
Yeah, dude. It's not great.
And this is only what I think is going to be the tip of the iceberg. And I think that within the next few years, you're going to see more and more calls for regulation, for good or bad. Sometimes I, who go by the name Capitalist Pig on Twitter, think that sometimes regulation is good. You want a goalkeeper to make sure that people are playing fair and by the rules. However, this is where the libertarian side of me kicks in. Most regulation is bullshit and designed only to bleed money off of things to support other various pet projects. We can go into debate on that later, though.
My big worry is the fact that the gaming industry as a whole won't actually recognize this as being anything and will just keep on keeping on. Because remember how much shit EA got into not too long ago with all their predatory loot boxes and bullshit. And if you recall, not that much very long ago, we talked about that fucking NBA trailer, like NBA 2K or whatever their goddamn sports franchise is, that legitimately showed players anticipating gambling as part of the feature list in that fucking video game.
Yeah. And so you combine that with everything else that's going on, with the fact that we talked about in last show how unhealthy overall AAA industry seems to be with the massive amounts of layoffs everywhere. It's going to get bad, and it's going to get real bad real fucking quick. So, yeah, enjoy that lovely idea there, guys. There is a storm on the horizon, and it's going to be real bad when it comes calling. And all it takes is for a few dominoes to get knocked over, and then all of this nightmare shit's going to kick in at once. But hey, if these companies can't pull their own heads out of their asses, I mean, I guess someone has to kind of force them to do it, right?
Yep, sounds right.
Let us know what you think about. I know it's a downer topic because it's one of those things
Really
that
heavy.
we can talk about and we can analyze and we can speculate and we can go, well, we wish they would do this. But at the end of the day, there's nothing that any one of us, you, David, or I, or the average gamer, or the average player, or anything can do. This is, we are ants in a playground of giants.
We're ants in a cornfield.
Yeah. The best we could do is just keep from getting stepped on.
Yep.
So yeah, let us know what you think about all this stuff going on. Am I right with my prediction here? Do you think I'm on something, or am I just kind of overreacting to everything around me and it's all going to work out okay? But I would be very interested in well thought ideas down below in either chat or the YouTube comments. David, let's go ahead and move on to some other news of the week, but let's stick with the topic of Activision Blizzard. Why don't you go ahead and lead us off on this story here?
I'm actually going to let you talk for a second because I need 1 second.
Okay, so you're dealing with whatever's going on there. So with this next story, we're going to go ahead and turn to Kotaku as we talk about some potential leaks from Activision Blizzard. And I use the term leaks loosely because this is some stuff that we kind of knew was going to be happening, but we're starting to get more and more confirmation that's probably going to appear at BlizzCon this year, which, by the way, is going to be a hoot with everything that's going on that we previously discussed.
I can't wait to watch it. It's going to be so funny.
So apparently we have 2 possible leaks relating to the existence of both Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2, games that we knew were coming.
Yeah, neither of those are surprising.
But this information makes it look like they could be announced at BlizzCon. The first part is that there is a new book coming up showcasing the art of the Diablo franchise, which doesn't officially launch until November 3rd, which is the couple days after BlizzCon. I believe BlizzCon is, like the 30th through the 2nd of November?
Something like that.
And it's there's a reference in the book, and the German magazine GameStar has added a little reference to Diablo 4, but the note about Diablo 4 doesn't appear on the Amazon listener or the official description of Booktopia. So if you go look this up on the official websites of these books, it's not there. But a magazine says, hey, there's a reference to Diablo 4 on there, and it's something along the lines of, like, enjoy concept art from Diablo 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, concept art of Diablo 4 is obviously a thing that exists.
Yeah.
Whether or not the game is even in production, I guarantee there's a artist who worked on the franchise who's got some sketches for Diablo 4. So it could be nothing, but we all kind of know what's coming because it's the announcement that everybody was waiting for at last year. At last year's BlizzCon.
In fact, from what I understand, they were going to announce it, but they wanted more to show or something like that.
And then we got Diablo Immortal, and then we got the now infamous, is this an April Fool's joke?
Yeah. This falls into the category of no shit Sherlock headlines for the most part, because it's like, Diablo 4 is coming. It's going to be pretty goddamn obvious it's announced at BlizzCon.
Also, it's great how well we can just rely on like retailers and magazines to leak everything at this point.
It's literally just a picture of a paragraph in there. Like the description itself doesn't say anything, but you know how when you go to Amazon, it has the pictures of the item. If you click on one of the pictures, it says it in that. So someone just took pictures
for
and
the
didn't pay
upcoming
attention.
Best Buy employee list or the Walmart Black Friday list that's got a Diablo 4 reference on it or something, you know?
The other leak with Overwatch 2 is a little bit more scattered all over the place. There are a couple things that go into details of what's coming on it, but nothing saying it will be announced at BlizzCon. But with the amount of chatter going on around it, it makes sense that should be showing up. And in a completely different turn of events, it sounds like this actually might have a PvE-focused campaign. In fact, once again, back to the Kotaku article, a couple of internal Blizzard sources have compared Overwatch 2's PvE element to Left 4 Dead when discussing it with Kotaku, and it would make sense players would unlock. And it would make sense that players would unlock abilities of PvE for certain heroes that would carry to not carry over to normal multiplayer. Blah. Sorry, I stumbled all over that. Long story short, essentially, it sounds like Overwatch 2 PvP element is going to be separate from its multiplayer element, so very little crossover, and think more of a Left 4 Dead style instead of a first-person shooter campaign like, say, the upcoming Modern Warfare.
That makes sense. It all tracks. It's weird that they're going to have a PvE thing in it at all, because that sounds like there's going to be a single-player version of that video game. And Overwatch 2 is one of those things that... this is going to be me
Feels
getting
unnecessary.
This is going to be me getting mad again. But Overwatch 2 is unnecessary in the sense that Overwatch is already a game that you pay full fucking price for, that you then dump all your goddamn money into loot boxes and unlocks and stupid ass bullshit in the hopes that you're playing a persistent multiplayer game that you can put all your money and time and shit into because it's a game with a tail, just to have it replaced with a sequel that undoes all the progress and everything you've done, thus basically wasting however many years of your life you've been playing Overwatch because now you have to play the second one.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of sums it all up, right?
There's a reason they never made a WoW 2, because guess what would happen? Everybody would just fucking drop the franchise.
Well, everyone would go over to WoW too. Let's be honest here. I honestly, I think
that's true. EverQuest 2 happened and it was successful. Guild Wars 2 happened and was successful. But again, me personally, I'm just that fucking jaded gamer kind of guy. I wouldn't touch those because you're trying to give me a persistent universe and I would like to stay in it. You're giving me a sandbox to play in, and then you're taking my sandbox away and forcing me to move on because I can't keep playing the game I enjoy when the player base gets fractured.
So here's the thing. This feels unnecessary unless Overwatch was in trouble. However, neither you or I really keep up with the Overwatch scene. So I don't know if Overwatch is currently suffering, if its player base is dropping or what.
I don't think so. Overwatch League is still putting in a shit ton of money.
If someone is watching this and has a more of a idea of what's going on with Overwatch, if it's doing better or worse over the years, or what the deal is,
this is probably more of Activision saying, hey, guess what? You guys have to make fucking sequels to your goddamn video games because your games don't make us enough fucking money.
I will say this about its PvE element coming out, though. It just, you know how Overwatch does those like PvE seasonal things, like you had like the Halloween trick-or-treat one where you're fighting zombies and stuff. I hear these sources and these leaks and people speaking, and by the way, once again, I use the term leak kind of loosely because it's, no shit, they're going to make another one. We've known this for a while now. There's really nothing new here. But when they talk about how they're comparing it to Left 4 Dead elements and stuff like that, that just sounds like a series of those seasonal maps linked together by probably a common story. And that does not excite me at all.
Yep.
I don't want... I'm just bothered by that, and it does not sound gripping or entertaining to me in any way, shape, or form. And you and I were talking. All I know
is, to me, this still just confirms that Team Fortress 2 is and always will be the better game.
Yeah, I mean, at the end, I think you're right. It might not be as polished, but it is just better overall, in my opinion. But I don't play these games. I tried playing Overwatch again a couple months ago. We were talking about this off the show, and I just get annihilated because there's no... The people who still play that game have played only that game for like 3 years now straight.
I mean, it'd be like me reinstalling Counter-Strike like 1.6 on my computer and then expecting to do well.
Yeah, it's definitely a very specific crowd that plays that game, and more power to them. I just don't know. It just doesn't feel necessary. And I'm going to leave the Overwatch discussion at that because, like I said, I just don't know enough about the community itself. It could be. My gut says it's unnecessary, though.
Maybe it'll be the greatest game ever. I doubt it, but who knows?
Oh, one more thing, by the way. Neither one of these two are expected anytime soon. So I would be shocked if we see them before 2022. To be quite honest with you.
Yeah. These are the kind of things that I would expect to launch on next gen, and not both, just next gen.
Yes.
Not that transitional year where it's on both.
David, while we're on the topic of things that I feel like are probably not going to see the light of day anytime soon, why don't you go ahead and take over this next topic?
The difference here is this is something I want, and this is from Okami Nakamura's Twitter. If you don't know who she is, she was the, I think, project lead or something high up with that Ghost of Tsushima game that was...
Wrong game.
Is that not her?
Ghost of Tsushima is Sucker Punch's game. You're thinking Ghostwire Tokyo or something like that.
God damn it. I tried so hard to remember that because they both had similar names, but this
Tango
is the one
Gameworks new game.
Yes, this is the one that had people getting like raptured.
Something like that.
And then not too long ago, we had a tweet from her that said that she was looking for a new job, and most recently, in another tweet, she's posted that Okami is going to be back. We want to make Okami sequel, and fans are looking forward to it too. You guys want to see Kamiya's Okami again, right, everyone? I want to work on it too. And she had a little video with Kamiya, who, obviously worked on Okami, and Ikumi as well, originally worked on Okami back in the damn day. So, it's kind of a dream team matchup.
I didn't know Ikumi Nakamura worked on Okami.
Fuck yeah, dude. It's in her goddamn bio. She worked on Okami before she did anything else.
No, I did not know that.
Yep. That's why it's got a little bit more credibility. In addition to this, there was a recent Gamasutra post about how Capcom, in light of Resident Evil and some other franchises doing so well, are looking at their back catalog and are actively looking to bring a retired or older franchise back into the limelight. And just those two announcements being so close together makes me just so damn hopeful that we get a proper Okami sequel. But I can fully see Capcom going a totally different way. It also doesn't really make sense for Capcom to have a slight other announcement and to let Ikumi have a tweet like this before Capcom actually made their announcement. So I don't know that they would even be responsible for releasing the game. There's a lot of strings here.
So here's the thing about all this, and I think there might be a little bit of a language barrier going on too, but it's just, one, Kamiya is a fucking troll. This guy loves to troll the internet nonstop, and that's what he does. He's known for being a troll. Two, they make this kind of announcement. It's like, hey, it's going to be back. And they're like, you guys want to see it, right? I want to work on it too. Well, is it going to be back, or do you want to work on it? Is there some weird language miscommunication here?
It could just be, hey, guys, what would be fun if we made another Okami game? I worked on that once, and if anybody's working on it, hey, guess what? I'm also available to be
right. Is this like, remember when Resident Evil 2's remake was kind of, not teased, but they had the guy asking, hey, do you guys want to see this? And then people were like, yes, and he went, okay, then we're going to make it. This could be in that style of, hey, do you guys want to see this? Let us know, and we'll make it kind of situation, along with what you're talking about, Capcom reviving old franchises. Though I still am convinced they're going back to Dino Crisis for that.
It could be that they're vaguely related, and that they're putting this out there as a kind of feedback receptor to see how much the fans would want a sequel, and if there's enough buzz, maybe then that's the franchise they pursue. But if not, maybe they've got plans elsewhere.
The point of bringing this entire thing up, however, is to more or less say, do not take this as official confirmation that Okami 2 is coming back up. I think
it's definitely not that.
No.
I
can see how people might read into it that way, but if that was the case, you would be seeing a lot more official clarification at this point on it.
Yep.
So, yeah. However, I will say that Okami 2...
man.
I will say Okami 2 would be amazing, though, and I would play the hell of that game.
Absolute one of the best Zelda games ever made.
David, let's move on to the next topic here. These next two stories are, for the most part, going to be related to Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I get it. If you're not into it, it's totally understandable. It is usually the biggest game of each year, though, so we do have to talk about it. And I will personally say this is the first time I've been looking forward to playing Call of Duty multiplayer in years. And that feels weird to me still today. But while approaching the multiplayer subject of things, Activision did announce what they plan on doing for their post-launch content. They're not using the term roadmap, but they're going to give you an idea of how the multiplayer and especially the microtransactions are going to be played out in this game. And yes, there will be microtransactions.
Hell yeah.
So this was from October 17th, and this post kind of announces some stuff that we already knew, but clarifies some other things too. Once again, they're mentioning, hey, crossplay is coming. Looking forward to that. Works way better than I thought it was going to. They are removing the concepts of season pass and a la carte DLC multiplayer map packs. So no more. If you're
fracturing the player base with multiplayer map packs?
Yeah, if you remember the older Call of Duties, they would release like a new map pack for like $15 every 3 or 4 months, and you would have to go buy it.
Came with 3 maps, and you had to buy it, or you couldn't keep playing with your friends because they had all the map packs, and then they wouldn't play with you because if they queued with you, then you wouldn't get to play the new maps, and that's all I wanted to do.
Right. It was a horrible system, but they stood on it for way longer than they should have. They're getting rid of that finally. Instead, There's going to be a bunch of free post-launch multiplayer maps and modes. It'll be interesting to see what new modes they add to it. And it will all simultaneously launch on all platforms. Now, they specifically say...
it kind of has to because of crossplay.
They do specifically say post-launch multiplayer maps. Because remember, the PlayStation is getting some exclusive Spec Ops DLC or something like that. I'm not too sure exactly what they're
It's
getting.
literally getting a horde mode survival bonus map thing in the Spec Ops mode. So one specific game mode, one specific co-op game mode gets like 2 extra maps on PlayStation.
Okay, is that what it? I didn't look
Yeah.
into it because I was like, I'm not getting on PlayStation, so it means nothing to me.
I looked into it because people got so mad about it. I was like, how bad is this really? And it's just not.
No.
If you're that upset about it, just shut up.
I think people are not upset at the content that they might be missing out. They're upset at the idea of it, and I get that. I can understand that. I've been upset at ideas before. I've been upset at a lot of ideas, David.
I've been yelled at before. It's not too bad.
How are they going to monetize this game, you might ask then? Well, one of the ways they're going to be doing that is essentially they're doing the Fortnite Battle Pass thing. Now, I don't know what that's going to consist of exactly, but rather than loot boxes,
probably
going to
be the same
pass.
as Fortnite, same as Apex, same as Rocket League, same as lots of things.
I think we've touched on this briefly. How do you feel about the Battle Pass, David?
The Battle Pass is something that I appreciate way the fuck more than I've ever liked any loot box system.
Why is that?
Because a Battle Pass is something that I can see every single item I can get from the pass before I spend money on it, and I unlock things by playing the game, so I can make a decision on if I want to spend the money and if I'm going to spend enough of my time to unlock the thing I want.
Now,
and in the case of games I play, like Rocket League, I can play the game a shit ton and realize, oh man, I actually hit some cool unlocks in the Battle Pass, or Rocket Pass in that case, and I want them, and then I can spend the money and get every single reward up to the tier that I'm at.
Now, you'd have to watch out because I don't know what's going to be in this Battle Pass, because while Rocket League's very clear, Apex Legends versions of Battle Pass,
it's far different.
Yes, you get fucking loot boxes in their Battle Pass instead.
Yep, and that's just complete bullshit, and I have no interest in it, which is why I don't really play Apex.
So we need to
see. There are good and bad versions of this system, but as a God, I don't want to say as a rule I prefer it, but I kind of do, because at least it's one fixed price point.
It's one of those things that you look at and you're fine with as long as you know as long as we know what we're getting for our money. I think we've both been kind of fine with the idea of microtransactions.
It's fucking ridiculous that in this day and age, the goddamn horse armor DLC is one of the best fucking deals in all of microtransactions, because at least I know I'm getting goddamn horse armor when I spend the $4.99.
Instead of $4.99, you might get like just an emote you already have.
Yeah, and it's just I can't deal with that shit, especially in full price games.
Good.
We'll have to wait and see. It could be implemented well. It could be implemented poorly. I err on the side of it being implemented poorly because this is fucking Activision we're talking about, and they're not really here to be transparent as they are to get all of your goddamn money.
Which brings us up to the final thing I wanted to mention is that this Battle Pass system won't actually be there when the game launches this Friday.
Nope.
No, it will be implemented at a later date, thus missing all the reviews. And that is a level of fuckery that is happening more and more, if you've noticed, where the game launches microtransaction free.
Yeah, they love to launch their game before they add all the monetization bullshit. Yeah. It is like the go-to strategy for every game that's got aggressive DLC bullshit in it.
Which just shows that the company itself knows it's a negative thing.
If your system is transparent enough and acceptable enough by the industry, then you will just leave it in there, and then they can actually talk about it and say, oh, the microtransactions weren't too abrasive, or they weren't too in my face, or they were in the game this much, and the pricing was reasonable, or the pricing was outrageous. That kind of stuff would all be in the review, guaranteed. By leaving it out, they eliminate all of that, and so everyone's going to have to wait an additional 2 weeks, 3 weeks, however fucking long to figure out what the monetization is. But most players can't and won't wait that long because gamers have absolutely no self-control.
No.
And will buy it day one, sight unseen, because, hey, it's the next Modern Warfare. Hey, it's the next Call of Duty. I'm going to play it because it's going to be fun. And that's where my friends are, which more power to you. I ain't mad about that. I just don't like this practice.
Yeah, I really hate this intent. Like, it just shows that these publishers know this shit's looked upon poorly.
Yeah.
But they ain't giving it up, so they try to hide it.
Yeah.
And there's something that pisses me off even more about it. I'd rather you just have it on the day one.
Why not? This is as bullshitty as you want it. That's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, this
because you're
just
still
feels
going to
like
sell
you're
the fucking game.
deliberately trying to piss on my parade. And that's like, guys, I'm not dumb. I see what you're doing. One more Call of Duty related topic before we go ahead and move on to stuff that I really want to get into. And that is apparently, and I will say out the gate, we're not going to do any kind of spoilers here, but apparently Modern Warfare is already in the wild and being sold. Now, the links for the story... Sort of. The links for the story come from both Eurogamer and IGN, and apparently a Twitter user and Twitch streamer by the name of Von Garçon claimed to have bought a number of copies and is selling them for $250 each. He posted a picture to his Instagram showing 7 copies of the game in the car. And these copies apparently look like they might have come from a red box. So if you're familiar with what a red box game looks like, you'll have an idea what this is.
Yeah. It's just the disc itself in like a clear plastic box.
Right. While Von Garçon promised not to leak gameplay, he did tweet a clip of Modern Warfare in action to verify his claim. The video shows a footage of a 2v2 mode gunfight, which looks like custom settings enabled in a private match, which would be a way to get around the always online stuff. I guess you could just maybe split screen co-op it or something like that between 2 consoles. Yep. A source familiar with the red box told IGN that the barcodes in the packaging seen in the initial Instagram post indicates the copies are likely taken from Redbox facilities. And IGN has reached out for Redbox comment. No comment on there yet. Von Garçon has actually stated, I don't work at Redbox, which kind of tips his hand that he got these from Redbox.
Yep.
So he knew someone on the inside. He since said that these are legally obtained as well. That's a highly dubious claim, if you were to ask me, and it certainly
I'm assuming they're probably street dated, and Redbox doesn't really sell games direct, at least before they're actually released.
Yeah. Hey there, Vince Nitro. How you doing, my man? And Salty Frank. Good to see you as well. So I get the feeling that one of two things is happening here. Either one, or let me start over. He has killed every post related to this on Twitter now.
Yep, it's gone.
All of it's gone.
Yep.
Which means one of two things. One, it was all fake to begin with, and I don't think it was. It looked legit. Or two, someone went up to him and said, you got some legal issues coming up. You better fucking delete all of this right now.
Yeah.
Because he has purged everything that he had about it. And I get the feeling that this is one of those cases where he might have paid someone in a completely legal manner to buy property that they had, and that property was probably stolen from Redbox. Now, I'm not saying that he stole it from Redbox. I'm not even saying he might have known he was buying stolen property. What I am saying is that he probably went to the back of someone's truck and picked up these copies, allegedly.
Yeah.
So,
or there was a truck full of Modern Warfare copies, and they were all in a semi, and then he drove his lowered Honda Civic under it, and then jumped in and sold the truck, and now he's got a bunch of copies of Modern Warfare.
Just some way to get around that. Once again, I'm not implying that he stole them at all. What I am saying is that where he bought them from probably stole them.
I'm not saying he stole them. I am saying that the source material was probably gained illicitly.
Yes, exactly. Let's turn to chat real quick. Looks like the Canadian elections are going on tonight. Is this when we find out if Justin Trudeau has yet another video in blackface or not? I'll be very interested to see how that shakes out. And that's about it. I expected more from there. I didn't notice. I didn't notice a lot of people were just saying hello. I saw like a bunch of stuff in chat. It was a bunch of hellos, eyes. I was just so curious. However, it sounds like he will be winning a minority. So he's going to win a minority. I don't know if that's a joke or not related to his blackface videos, but we'll just leave it right there and move on away from Canadian politics and into Paradox Con. Now, David, you and I both like Paradox.
Yeah. Okay. So we like Paradox with a caveat, because Paradox happens to put out a bunch of shit we really, really like, but Paradox also is kind of upsetting because of how heavy-handed they are with DLC and how fucking expensive some of their games get.
For example, Crusader Kings 2 was free this weekend, and didn't you do the math? And it was like $150 of DLC if you wanted everything for it.
Yep. Well, actually, it's $150 of DLC if I want everything for it. I already own most of it.
That gives you an idea of what Paradox does. They make really cool games that we both like.
That are like outrageously deep, very complex, and you can absolutely play the shit out of in the base version. But there's just so much post-release content for these games, and it's like the ultimate nickel and diming because they're all $5, $10, $15 DLC packs. to where you just kind of have to wait for it to all be on 90% sale so you can get all of it for the price of a full game. Like, there's a lot of shit going on. But
However, I am a sucker and I buy all of them all the time. So they had their big convention going on, Paradox did, and they had a whole bunch of announcements, many of which I'm actually excited for. Let's go ahead and start off with the first one. Crusader Kings 3 is coming, and it looks a hell of a lot less spreadsheety.
Spreadsheety. That's for sure. Anyway, this is actually coinciding with the fact that Crusader Kings 2 is now free, so if you want to kind of get an idea of what the gameplay is going to be like, you can always pick that up and play it. Crusader Kings is an amazing game that I have trouble sitting down and playing because I have a bunch of hours in it already, but it's just so intense to get back into. Like, I need to watch multiple YouTube videos just to remember what the fuck I'm doing, just to manage the first 3 turns of the game, because it is, like I said before, outrageously deep. This is a kingdom management simulator.
Yes.
And I think that's the best description I can have for it. It's
a realistic kingdom simulator because it's actually all across Europe and Africa and Middle East. Realistic in quotes because, I mean, you do like to potentially summon Satan or something.
Not really. My dude was just called a Satanist and then hung at the stake, and then I had to play as a baby. But and I guess that could clue you in on how this game is. It's a game about legacy. It's a game about trying to take over the world or just trying to manage a small duchy in Northern Ireland. It's a game that lets you do what you want to do in the constraints of a historical setting. It's really deep. It's fun with multiple people. It's ridiculous to read about, and it has just so much shit going on behind the scenes that it's almost impossible to see all of it.
Yeah, there is a lot of stuff that can happen, and that's same with these next 2 games I want to mention real quick too. Crusader Kings looks amazing, and that might be the first one I get into because I tried getting to the second one. I just think the ship missed me. However, the 2 games I stream the most on this channel, and I want to talk about these 2 specifically. One of them is Stellaris.
Yes.
Which is a massively in-depth 4X space game, Space Empire game. They're getting into an expansion called Federations. They're going to... Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's kind of Crusaders Kings in space. With how deep it is.
You know? Kind of. It's just Crusader Kings 2 has been out for like 7 or 8 years at this point, I think.
It's old.
And it definitely is missing a lot of the quality of life features that you see in either Hearts of Iron, which is the other game we're going to talk about, in Stellaris.
You gotta download a lot of mods. You can also play Game of Thrones in there.
So yeah, you have Stellaris Federations, which is finally going to rework their Federations tree, because for the most part I try to avoid Federations because I hate the way they operate. And you're going to be able to get like new origins for whatever races create. Part of the fun I have with Stellaris is just creating the backstory for the race that I'm making. Am I making the Borg? Am I doing essentially the Fremen from Dune? What am I doing with that? So I want to see how these origins work. And then you're getting some new constructions like this. One thing I want to point out specifically is this new thing called the Mega Shipyard, which just produces fleets at a time. Not just one ship at a time, but here's a massive fleet. It is essentially the goddamn Starforge from Knights of the Old Republic. So I'm looking forward to getting to that. And then my other baby that I play on stream a lot, Hearts of Iron 4, which I've been playing through a lot recently with the Kaiserreich mod installed, an amazing little alternate history game where it goes, instead of World War II as we know it, World War II if Germany would have won World War I. It's a really interesting take on things. But they are releasing La Resistance, which is exactly as it sounds. You can start setting up resistance movements in Vichy-controlled France or occupied territories, and a couple of the bigger countries are also going to get reworked focus trees, including France and Vichy France are going to get their own focus trees, as well as Republican and Nationalist Spain. So when the Spanish Civil War kicks off at the beginning of every game of Hearts of Iron, you can actually play those groups and lead them somewhere rather than going, okay, I've won the Civil War, I'm going to sit out for 5 years like I normally have to in Hearts of Iron. So I'm really looking forward to both those expansions. You got a couple of smaller ones coming out. Prison Architect has its own expansion coming out. No official name, but it looks like it might be Alcatraz-based. You have Surviving the Aftermath, which is Surviving Mars 2, Age of Wonders, Planetfalls.
Whoa. You can't just gloss over that because it's not Surviving Mars 2. Surviving the Aftermath, it
is a spiritual successor to Surviving Mars.
I only want to point out that it's not Mars-based. It's a post-apocalyptic civilization game. And that actually sounds kind of fun. Because you're trying to, colonize the remnants of humanity. It's like you're trying to build a Fallout bunker, but you're way the fuck too late.
Understandable. It's essentially Surviving Wars 2 with a different skin.
No, I get that, and I just don't want you to gloss
Yeah.
over it because aesthetically, I am interested.
Fair enough. Age of Wonders, Planetfall's getting an expansion. I tried playing Age of Wonders. It wasn't doing it for me, so I didn't look too deep into it. And Bloodlines 2 has been delayed, which relates to what we're talking about also last year, I believe, where March was so fucking crowded, something had to give. Well, Bloodlines 2 is the first casualty of that. Let's go ahead and take...
That's actually fine, because Bloodlines 2 can take as much time as it needs.
Yeah, I'm really into it. Look at chat real quick. Vince Nitro says, no idea what happens when you play Stellaris. I mostly watch it when I'm blazed, though, and just enjoy the ambiance. That game is amazing to watch when you're high because it is so colorful during the fights.
Yep.
The fights in that game are amazing. Paradox had one more announcement left, however. And
Hell,
I'm going to let
yes,
you
they did.
take this, David.
All right, we're talking about November 21st. We're talking about the best fucking game that Paradox has out that you can play on your goddamn computer, and that's a new expansion to BattleTech called Heavy Metal. It's got 8 new mechs, several classic designs. I don't think we have a list of what mechs are in it. It's got a Flashpoint-style mini-campaign, 8 weapon systems. It's just more BattleTech, and BattleTech is still the greatest franchise since the 1980s.
If you watch the trailer, they do say 470 tons of new mech essentially coming at you. You could probably imagine there's probably a couple of light mechs, probably a couple 20 and 30-ton ones, probably an assault mech or two, but I would imagine most of those mechs are going to run into the 50 to 70-ton range, if you were to ask me.
Yep. 40 to 65, I think, covers the biggest range of bullshit.
I think you're right. That sounds about right. There's a weird jump. There's like a dead space between 75 and 90 almost. Now, there are mechs in that range.
Yep.
But it's definitely underserved. Because once you get that heavy, you might as well start taking like an Atlas.
Yeah, why not?
But that's deep cut lore BattleTech nerd stuff. So
anyway,
don't want to get too into the weeds on that.
Deep cut lore BattleTech is the best nerdy shit.
But it's something that requires probably a higher level understanding of BattleTech. In which case, you already know about this expansion as such. We probably don't want to get too deep into it here.
Whatever, dude. Giant robots are the greatest thing that's ever happened, and this is a game about giant robots that's tactical based, and I fucking love it.
Looking forward to it. But David, all of this new ship that Paradox announced, one is going to be priced obscenely high for what you actually get, because that's one thing that Paradox does that I hate, is that they overprice all their stuff.
Wait for a sale, boys.
And two, won't be coming out for quite a while. Like November 21st for some of it, but most of the stuff's probably not until next year or even the year after, as far as, like, say, Crusader Kings 3 goes, Bloodlines 2, etc. In the meantime, as I am looking to kill the wait between now and then, what can I play?
Oh, dude, there's some video games coming out this week. First up is East Shade on PS4, Xbox One. I believe it's already on PC. This is like an open world exploration game where you're playing as a traveling painter, trying to like capture the world on canvas. You've got like an easel you set up. You talk to people, you learn about their lives, you make friends, you go to cities, you scale mountains, you find mysteries, you paint a bunch of stuff.
You lost me at making friends.
It looks very, very relaxing. What's funny is if this game at any point in a trailer even a little bit alluded to having a dark twist, I would be all fucking over it. Because it's just so serene and so peaceful and so beautiful. I was like, oh man, I just wish like there was some crazy cultist shit going on out of nowhere but I don't think anything like that happens. This is very much a peaceful, relaxing, just hang out, enjoy your time with it game, which is awesome. It's a cool idea. I know a lot of people love these games. Just for me, I can't get that relaxed when I play video games because I'm trying to stay occupied when I play video games.
So I'm looking at some gameplay trailers for this game, and I don't mean like the official trailers. I mean the actual game itself, and it looks... Not to bash a game that I haven't played, but if this is the same East Shade, this game looks jank as all fuck.
And maybe it is. Who knows? But it's coming out this week.
It looks
so
bad.
You can find out for yourself. Also coming out, if you want to talk about games that look bad, Street Outlaws The List. I guess I should just call shit out. Anyway, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. This is a video game based on the TV show, which I think is on True TV, called Street Outlaws, where people mod cars and drag race them. And it's got famous bald guys in it, but not those famous bald guys, less famous bald guys. Drive cars fast. According to the release, it's got 4 modes: drag racing, challenge mode, tuning, and quick play. I don't know.
I didn't even know this was like a show. That's how out of
I
touch
don't
I am.
know how those are considered different modes. Like, I guess you just drag race, and you can quick play a drag race, and you can upgrade. I don't know. It's got
All right,
split
there are
screen
guys on the
multi-local.
show named Daddy Dave and Murder Nova. I'm out.
Yeah, dude, this is
I can't handle that.
it's cheese for cheese sake. Mary Skelter 2 comes out for Switch. This is a 3D dungeon crawler that's very Japanime based. The first
Japanime based.
yeah.
That's a word I haven't heard since the 80s.
Yeah, dude, that's how I do a catch-all for games that have anime girls, but they're a regular video game, and then there's all the cutscenes where you just talk to static 2D images of every single character I saw in the trailer was like a stereotype anime girl, like green hair girls in it, pink hair girls in it, glasses girls in it. Um, you play a fairy tale inspired characters called Blood Maidens with customizable character specific classes. Again, this is that first person old school dungeon crawler style game like
a Trent Odyssey or Persona Q.
Grimlock, all that kind of stuff.
Legend of Grimlock.
Yeah. You're escaping a living prison. This also includes the first installment, Mary Skelter Nightmares. So
it's the first and second game combined.
Yep, on Switch.
Okay.
Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 3 comes out on PS4. I swear I talk about this game every other week.
It gets ported all over the place, but that Trials of Cold Steel series has a very devoted fan base.
Hell yeah, and this is on PS4. It's been out in Japan for like 2 years or so. Traditional JRPG turn-based battles, similar to Cold Steel and Cold Steel 2. There's an emphasis on like speeding up the battles so that the transitions are a little bit more seamless. Being able to map out battle commands is more intuitive, and you can put on specific buttons rather than going through a bunch of menus. So it's supposed to be more streamlined, especially in the combat, than the last two games have been. And like you said, these games have a big following, so if you're into it, you're probably already aware of it. Also coming out this week, WWE 2K20 comes out for PS4, Xbox One, and PC. This is a sim wrestling game. Wrestling, like the over-the-top people jumping on ropes, soap operas written by a bunch of people that go on to be famous in actual movies and things. It's got all your favorite superstars, legends, Hall of Famers, and NXT. I don't know what NXT is.
I think they're like the new version of NWO or something like that, because I used to watch wrestling back in like the early 90s and mid-90s.
I mean, I think everybody had to watch wrestling when you're younger. It's like a rite of passage.
There are complaints in chat, specifically Vince Nitro, that apparently the graphics to this have just taken a massive step backward compared to 2019. It might be a big hubbub about it.
Oh, and apparently NXT is the farm system that feeds WWE. That's cool. I didn't know there was like college wrestling. Well, I knew there was college wrestling. I just didn't know there was college, fake wrestling.
Okay, so it's not like an association. It's the minor leagues.
Cool. Wrestling isn't bad. I enjoyed wrestling back when I watched it when I was younger, and some of the games have been solid over the years. So I don't know.
I got. Into it. Hey, I will make fun of wrestling the way that I make fun of everything. But at the end of the day, if you like wrestling, knock yourself out, man. I like stupid shit too.
Everybody should enjoy whatever they enjoy.
What I like is that over the years, it went from people believing that it was 100% real. Like if you were before the internet, if you're old enough to like remember, like in the late 80s, people would get like violently upset if you said wrestling was fake. Now everyone's kind of like, yeah, it's fake, but so is General Hospital.
Well, I mean, at this point, the wrestlers say, the stories are written and it is a drama, but the action and some of the shit we do, these guys do get beat the hell up. I absolutely respect the physical part of it, because you have to be in perfect shape or else you will get fucked up doing this stuff. Yeah. Anyway, enough talking about wrestling on purpose. Yeah. Also coming out this week, Skullgirls Second Encore hits Switch. I actually really enjoyed Skullgirls. I think it's one of the deepest fighting games that's released in the last decade. It's just fucking awesome. It looks really good. It's super smooth. This is a 2D fighting game that is kind of modeled after Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And it's got a lot of game mechanics that are also from like Capcom versus SNK 2. So it's like a 3v3 or 2v2 tag-based combat. It's got assists. It's got snapbacks. It's got hyper combos. It's got all that super deep, crazy fighting game shit you can get into, but it's fairly accessible if you don't play a lot of fun games. You can just kind of pick it up and slam buttons and do some cool stuff. I don't know. I always like the series, and I like seeing every fighting game that I've ever enjoyed coming to Switch slowly over time. So cool. Moons of Madness comes out for PC this week. This is a adventure, horror, sci-fi, first-person game that honestly has you written all the fuck over.
I'm going to be streaming this sometime this week. Absolutely will be.
I knew as soon as I started watching the trailer that you were already planning on playing this. It's a story-driven space horror game where the scientific exploration of Mars meets the supernatural dread of Lovecraft.
Apparently, it's right up my alley.
Yeah, that is like the most you description of a video game I've ever fucking heard.
Apparently, this is a spinoff of The Secret World. You know that weird, like, MMO?
Shit, really?
Yeah.
That's cool. PBA Pro Bowling comes out to Switch. The Professional Bowlers Association and Farsight Studios have partnered to create an officially licensed PBA video game. The game features a career mode with over 100 tournaments set in dozens of venues, quick play, and local multiplayer. It's a bowling video game. Last I checked, Tekken 7 has bowling in it, and that's all I need.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
Tekken 7 is really?
Did you not know about Tekken Bowl? Come on, son. Tekken Bowl was in Tekken Tag. It's amazing. You play bowling, but with Tekken characters.
I don't play fighting games, though. So
if you get their power up, they actually jump with the ball all the way into the pins, and it's great.
That's amazing. Okay.
Corpse Party 2 Dead Patient comes out this week on PC. This is an indie RPG. I guess it's gory. It's again got that like anime cutscene.
Yeah, Corpse Party
characters.
is known for being over the top violent. I actually kind of like these games.
What's funny is I haven't paid too much attention, but this game does look kind of interesting because it's got that kind of top-down survival-esque, like wandering around in a spooky hospital trying to solve shit.
It looks like Corpse Party 2 looks like a newer PlayStation era RPG, but the original Corpse Parties looked like old Nintendo, Super Nintendo RPGs, where it's just straight top down. You move pixelated character, but calling them RPG is a bit of a misnomer because they're not really RPGs. They are instead visual novels where you can you physically control your character rather than moving from screen to screen.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
Anyway, I like them. If you like stuff like Danganronpa or 999 or the 999 series, whose official name I can't remember right now. If you like stuff like that, or Doki Doki Literature Club, take a look at Corpse Party. I think that'll be up your alley.
Yep. Basically plays a character who awakens from a coma in an abandoned hospital, strapped to an operating table. That's the start of that game. Dark Devotion comes out for PS4 and Switch. This is a 2D Souls-like with pixel graphics.
For us hating that term so fucking much, we use it ourselves all the time. I get why everyone uses it because it gets right to the point of what that game is. Immediately.
Now, to be fair, I take a lot of umbrage with Souls-like in several game descriptions because sometimes they just mean it to mean this game is difficult, full stop, and it has absolutely no similarities to the Dark Souls gameplay, which I've always felt was more akin to Monster Hunter in that it has like weighted strikes. You can't cancel mid-animation.
There's usually some kind of stamina bar.
Yeah, normally a stamina bar. Your dodge mechanic has very specific iframes. Everything can be beat with the lowest level gear just based on your knowledge of the game. And in its defense, Dark Devotion does share some of those similarities. So while it is a 2D side-scrolling game, it does have more Souls-like mechanics than the average game that's called a Souls-like. Of course, there's always that guy that I follow on Twitter that just retweets anytime games journalist mentions that a game is Dark Souls-like, and that guy's my favorite. So, Cat Quest 2, The Lupus Empire comes out for PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. This is probably the best version that Cat Quest has ever had because this one has the far superior animal, dogs.
The hell's Cat Quest?
You don't know what Cat Quest is?
No. You're talking to me about this like it's something I should know.
It's a top-down 2D kind of simple-styled RPG where you play as a cat going on an adventure. It's got an overmap. It's got combat. It's got magic. It's got classes. It's an RPG, but everything's cat, and it's all cat puns. The second one has local co-op, and it also features dogs.
God damn, it sounds like a catastrophe.
So it's clearly the better game. Winter Sports Games comes out for Switch. This is it's a video game that's got winter sports. I feel like you get one of these on any Nintendo console every few years. It's got ski jumping, slalom, downhill, bobsleigh, toboggans, curling, and it's all kind of animated cutesy. There you go.
Can we all agree that the Winter Olympics are just essentially the less attractive younger brother of the Summer Olympics?
Sure. That's fine, I guess. Pixel Gladiator, comes out for Xbox One and Switch. This is a interesting concept because it's Gladiatorial Battles is a top-rated TV show, popular all over the universe. You've been sent to an abandoned planet as one of the participants. Your goal is to survive as long as possible, fighting back deadly creatures in the focus of billions of viewers. That tagline to me has got Smash TV written all over
that
it.
tagline alone sounds Smash TV, but this does
big
not
money.
look like Smash TV.
It absolutely does not. But it could be fun. Who knows?
I get strong Nidhogg vibe, and I take that back. I take the Nidhogg vibes back. I meant like the first one, but I'm completely wrong with that. Never mind. Forget I said anything about comparing it to Nidhogg. Move along.
Cool. Into the Dead 2 comes out on Switch. This is a pixel graphics side-scrolling tower defense. If you get what I mean, in that it's set on a 2D plane, you got stuff coming into the middle, you got to defend your area.
Okay, I could see it. I can visualize it.
Yep. And it looks cool enough.
That's a super generic fucking name, though.
Yeah, I know. Call of Duty Modern Warfare comes out this week for PS4, Xbox One, and PC.
People are going to buy this. This is a generic name too, but this is literally the game that kicked off the series of generic names.
Hell yeah, dude. And people are going to play this whether or not we talk about it.
Yeah.
Fairly sure you're going to pick it up. I'm not going to pick it up, at least until I know what's going on with the Battle Pass situation.
I agree.
I'm straight and I broke.
I plan on picking it up Friday because, like I said, it's the first time in not pre-ordering it. Don't pre-order.
Nope.
But I do plan on getting this after I learn if the servers are stable or not. But man,
I'm sure it'll be solid.
Yeah,
it'll probably be a shit ton of fun. Everybody I think I've ever known is probably going to play it because it's another Call of Duty name, but it's called Modern Warfare, which, all my friends from back in the day are going to play it because that's when they played Call of Duty.
I tend to get the Call of Duty games and just play through their campaigns. Some of them are high, some are low. Like, for example, I actually liked Infinite Warfare's campaign. I loved World War II's campaign. Not so much Ghosts, not so much Advanced Warfighter. This one, however, is the first time that I've been actually really excited for the campaign and the multiplayer. I played that multiplayer beta. In fact, we played it together. I played that and I went, okay, this feels like something I can waste hours and hours and hours on. I don't know if I would ever stream it, but I definitely want to play it.
I would want more polish on the Battlefield-like mode. There's a couple of gripes I had with it, but the game does look damn fun, and we'll see how it is. Medieval hits PS4 this week. This is a remake of the old school Medieval game, which was always kind of cool. It's been rebuilt from the ground up, full-on remake, which is why it's got the original title. It doesn't have any extra caveats or anything added to it. It is much, I think, deeper of a remake than the Crash Bandicoot one, because that was kind of just like a retexture. This is almost a reimagining. This game actually looks pretty damn good, and supposedly runs in 4K on PS4 Pro.
I'll believe that when I see it. I get the feeling that they're cheating with that. It's one of those things where they say it runs in 4K, but it's actually like upscaled to 4K.
I'm sure it's got interlacing and all kinds of other nonsense going on to make it work, but it does look pretty damn good. This is a 3D action game where you play as
Sir Daniel Fortescue.
Yep, and he's pretty cool. Finally, last but definitely, God no, not least, The Outer Worlds comes out this week.
I am really looking forward to this.
Fuck yes. PS4, Xbox One, PC. However, keep in mind that it is exclusive to the Epic Store for a year. So if you are down on Steam, too bad. You're going to have to shell out the money because you want to play this fucking game. This is the new single-player sci-fi RPG from Obsidian Entertainment and Private Division. Most importantly, Obsidian are the guys to put together Fallout New Vegas, which is probably the best Fallout game since 2.
Yeah.
You can debate me all you want. I don't give a shit.
The main plot. So I think I've mentioned this before. The main plot to Fallout 3, I thought was better, but all the side content in New Vegas was better than anything in Fallout 3, and definitely better than anything in Fallout 4.
And that's easy because, as we've talked about on the show before, I don't beat open world video games.
No, you just play until you're done.
I play until I'm done, and the more extra bullshit the game has to distract me from the main storyline, the more fun I'm going to have with it. Because my favorite thing about getting into an open world game is showing up and they're being like, you're the hero of blah, blah, blah. We need you to do X or Y. And I'm like, fuck that. I'm going fishing. and that is the greatest shit in the world.
I'm specifically looking forward to this because I'm going to play such a fucking corporate stooge. I am going to be the kiss ass that eventually takes over one of the major corporations again, and I'm almost positive they're going to let me do it. I'm really looking forward to this.
I'm going to see exactly how many people you can kill in this game to still progress. You explore a space colony. You decide how your player-driven story unfolds. We don't know exactly how much the storyline is actually going to branch, but you are playing in the future, but in one of those funny alternate history futures where basically corporations just kept on growing and the whole world is just, worlds are run by corporations.
Yeah, I think we were talking about this. The idea is that this is an alternate history where Teddy Roosevelt never became president and as such never went trust busting. So the corporation, like the old robber barons from the early 19th century, just stuck around and kept getting more and more powerful. Looks like chat's really happy to see this. Vince Nitro's definitely all over the Outer World, it seems.
Yeah, this is by far the game I'm most excited for this week. It's probably the game I'm most excited for this month. I can't say this year because god damn is there something just terrifying coming out in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll see how well that shakes out. There are two caveats I want to give to the Outer Worlds discussion right here. Things that you probably want to keep in mind, and I could be wrong or they might not mean much to you, but I want to mention them. One, this game, I know it has a lot of backing. A lot of people are excited for it, and they're expecting Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, and oh my god, this is going to be Fallout 5. This is the true Fallout 4. Tamper your expectations. This game has indie written all over it. While Obsidian themselves aren't really what I would consider an indie developer at this point, because they actually do have a pretty big team. Don't expect a major big project from this. Don't expect blockbuster graphics everywhere. Expect something more low-key. Go into this thinking it's going to be along the lines of a B-tier game, and I think your expectations will be set higher. And while on that idea, which brings me up to my second point, I don't think you're going to get 80 hours from this game. Now, I could be wrong, but if you go in here thinking you're going to get a Witcher 3 or a Fallout, I'm going to sink 180 hours in this game and still be exploring shit, I think you're wrong on that. I think this is going to be a much tighter experience. I'm not saying it's bad, but go into this. If you go into this thinking you're going to get 20 hours of good game out of it, I think you're going to be served better than thinking that this is going to be the next Witcher 3. Chat's calling me the little boy who fun forgot and the boy who lost the joy of Christmas. I personally like the little boy who fun forgot myself.
Yeah, dude. Anyway, let us dream our dreams, and we can find out together when this game comes out on Friday.
This I will be actively streaming on chat, and I'm debating if I should do it completely in character or not. If I should wear a business suit and be like the guy from Futurama who died of bonitis or not.
Nice.
My
one regret is having bonitis.
David?
Yes.
With that, I believe, comes in new releases, and thus the end of the show. This has been GamePoints episode 195, and if you want to join us live next time, you can do so every Monday night at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here at Twitch TV/GamePoints. Like Vince Nitro, like Salty Frank, and to all the other lurkers who are floating around today. However, if you can't, you can also join the conversation later at youtube.com/GamePointsPC and comment down below. If you like what you saw here and you will support the show, you guys know what streamers want. Follows, bits, subscriptions, shares, likes, etc. All that good stuff. You can join our Discord community, link provided in the description down below or in the tab section if you're watching her at Twitch, and reach out with other members of the community, keep up with show announcements, etc. when I'm going live, make community play sessions with each other. It's a cool little place to hang out. You can also follow the show on Twitter at GamePointsPC. You can follow David there at _Satori, and you can follow myself over at CapitalistPig21. Once again, this was GamePoints episode 195, and until next time, we're out of here.